Welcome to the Upshift podcast, where changemakers meet and commune and find out how each other is doing their part in changing the world. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Upshift. And I am honored today to have Kevin Palmieri. Am I saying that correctly?
Palmieri.
Palmieri. Anyway, Kevin, he is the CFO, founder, and co-host of the Next Level University, a global top 100 self-improvement podcast with more than 2,000 episodes. I aspire to be like you someday, Kevin. 1 million listeners in 170 countries. But he's got a story for us. Like we talked right before the show, in this successful life of his, we run into barriers, bumps, and speed bumps along the way. And with every sunny side, there is the shadow. And Kevin, he is a perfect guy to tell us his story and to inspire us on what keeps him going. Kevin, welcome.
Angel, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to chat and see where we go with our conversation.
All right, I do have to say this. Tell us your story, how you got here, because you were one person before, then something happened,
Yes.
and now you are who you are today. How did that happen?
What version do you want? You want the 7-minute version?
Yeah, let's do
Okay,
7
cool.
minutes because we can go from there and move forward.
Perfect. I like to ask because there's a bunch of different versions. So for context, I was raised by my mom and my grandmother. I didn't know my dad. I didn't meet my dad until I was 27. So obviously that plays a role in a young man's life. Grew up lower middle class, didn't have a lot of money. I recall often hearing conversations about how we were going to be able to pay rent. So that's kind of, that instilled in me pretty early on that money is the key to happiness.
Yeah.
That was a thing that I believed for most of my life. Decided pretty early in life that I wasn't going to go to college. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was not going to pay $25,000 a year to figure it out. It just didn't make sense to me. So I got a job at a local gas station, and that was my first big boy job. And then from there, I worked at a hospital cleaning bathrooms and floors overnight, truck driver, forklift operator, tiling, construction, on-call firefighter, just all sorts of things.
Kevin of all trades.
Kevin of all trades, yes. Eventually, I fell into a job in an industry called weatherization. So it was our job to go into large buildings and make them more energy efficient. That was it in a nutshell. But I went from making like $15 an hour as a construction laborer to anywhere from $60 to $120 an hour doing this new job.
Yeah.
So in my mind, Angel, here we go. We did it. This is it. Everything we worked for, everything we did up to this point is going to work out just fine.
Right.
So if you looked at me when I was 25, I had this really nice job. My girlfriend at the time was a model. I was getting ready to compete in a bodybuilding show, so I was quite literally in the best shape I will ever be. Sports car, great friends, new apartment, everything.
All the things.
All the things. And then I somehow ended up sitting on the edge of a bed contemplating suicide the next year. Left that life behind and then started a podcast and said, look, if I could do this, I would be the most fulfilled person ever of all time. This would be a dream come true. I'm going to give that a shot. And that was in 2017. In 2018, I left my job to try to pursue this full time. And then the next handful of years were nothing short of brutal, but we were able to continue the journey. So I think, if anything, I am an example of somebody who never thought I was going to be successful, had very little self-belief, very little self-worth, somehow achieved way more than I thought I ever would, but I assumed that external things were going to fix internal voids, and that just was not the case. If anything, I think it probably made it worse. So I think that's probably the 4-minute version of the story.
Okay, you've left a gap for me.
Yes.
That is sitting on the side of the bed.
Uh-huh.
If you want to share, what was the thing that kept you from actually doing the thing, offing yourself? I mean, I hate to be, but it's we got to talk about this stuff. We got to bring this out of the shadows. It's not uncommon. So what was the thing though? Because to go from that moment to I threw away, then you became this guy. It's like, what happened? What happened there?
Yeah, I reached out to a friend who I felt safe sharing with. And a lot of times when I say that, people say, oh, that was so brave of you. You were so vulnerable. No, that's not true. I had a really good relationship with this person. He's my business partner now, right? So
Nice.
we've been working together for 8 years, but he was my mentor at the time. And I say this all the time. Maybe right now, life is amazing and you're crushing it and you have no worries in the world. Now is the time to build the vulnerable umbrella, because the last thing you want to do is think about building that during the thunderstorm.
Okay, the vulnerable umbrella.
Yes.
Give us details. What's that?
That is the understanding that eventually you might need to ask somebody for help. And you don't want to do it when you're standing in the middle of the rain. You don't want to build the umbrella when your back is up against the wall and you don't know who to call. When things are going really well, that is the time to do hard things. When things are going horribly wrong, we hope that we can fall back on the proactive things that we created. So I reached out to him. I explained what I was going through, and we had conversations about it already. And in his wisdom, he said, over the last couple years, your awareness has changed a ton, but your environments have remained the same.
Okay.
This job doesn't have to be your forever job. There's other things. And it just created a light at the end of the tunnel for me that if you've ever, whether you're watching or listening, if you've ever been in a relationship and you thought that person had to be the person, you know how trapped that can make you feel. That's what I felt for my job. I never thought I was going to get a job like that. I never thought I was going to make good money. So the last thing I could imagine was leaving that behind and then creating something better. So he helped me create a brighter future, and he gave me permission to dream and permission to do something different that day. So yeah, I reached out to someone, and that was massive for me.
So I've had another guest on the show that works in a suicide network, actually her own. And I learned something on that show that I am going to repeat right here, that if you don't have that friend in your life, let's say, or it's embarrassing or you don't know what to do, there is a helpline, 988. Is that right?
I believe so.
Yeah, instead of 911, it's 988. I hope I have that right, because that is, you can call anywhere 24/7. You could be on the edge of anywhere, and there will be somebody there that can talk to you. And I do like for listeners to know that there is something out there for that, just because we're on that subject. But we can move on, because you got past that moment and you're this guy. Like when we did our first interview, you're like so vibrant. And so the question is like, what wakes you up in the morning? What is now your passion? You found it, and there's a gap there that maybe you could bridge for us. Like from, okay, I got a future, it's brighter over there, to actually having that future. Bridge that gap for us.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons there was so much conflict at the time where I was having the suicidal ideations was because I had already started a podcast about personal development. I felt like I found my thing, but I had to go do this job that no longer served the purpose that I wanted it to serve. I fell in love with the podcast thing. So when I left, I went full time into trying to do what we're doing today. And while I was the brokest and the least successful and the most single I'd ever been, I was the most fulfilled. And that was a really good suggestion to me that I was on the right path. That was a really good suggestion. But I would say from the moment I sat on the edge of that bed contemplating suicide to now, my purpose, the thing that gets me out of bed, the thing that allows me to work as much as I do, is I aspire to be the type of person that I needed when I was at my lowest point. And this is how he would show up, even though he's tired, even though he's stressed, even though he's overwhelmed. That really is what pushes me more than anything. And then I think the other thing that's so easy to lose sight of, I am unbelievably privileged to be able to live my dreams every day. If I ever lose sight of that gratitude, this all crashes and burns. I'm so privileged to be able to be a professional podcaster who has his own business. I don't want to lose sight of that. So on the days where it's back to back to back, I literally look at my calendar and say, Kev, this is what you dreamed about.
Right.
This is what you dreamed about. So perspective, gratitude, and purpose are kind of the three things that I try to keep grounded through.
But also sounds like you gave up on that born into relationship with money being the elixir of success and
Yeah.
happiness,
Yes.
and letting go of that to the point where when you had the least, you were the most satisfied, what I call fulfilled.
Yes.
And that is success. That is like the heart bank account. And you learned
I
about the heart bank account. I have a quick question though about, did you use in this, I know you've done a lot of your own deep excavation into your own belief systems and things you needed to tweak. You changed yourself. And like you said, you changed yourself, but things around you weren't changing. So you had to move yourself. And people find themselves in that situation. A lot of my guests and a lot of the clients that I work with find themselves going deeper. And then, but yet looking around and the things haven't changed for them, including people. So they're having to leave people and situations behind. So how do you have the courage to do that? And then the second caveat to this is, how do you have the belief that you're the one in the right for you and that it's not wrong? They're not right. These people around you that are naysayers, that you're actually in the right for you, even though you've had to leave the situation or the people. There you go.
I had a young lady I was dating before I reconnected with my wife, and she said, "Hey, I'd love to meet your friends." And I said, "Yeah, sure. Come over. We'll have a cookout. You can meet my friends." And I said, "There's gonna be two friends there. One is like my big brother. He's amazing. He's gonna love you. He's gonna talk me up. He's just a good dude. He's a big teddy bear." I said the other one, and then I paused, Angel, and I said, "He's gonna make fun of me in front of you. He's gonna make fun of you in front of you. Everything is gonna be some type of joke to him, and he's gonna be disrespectful. And then he will top it all off by saying, 'Yeah, I'm just a jerk.'" And I said, imagine, I thought this to myself, and this changed my life. Imagine if before meeting me, somebody had to give that preface.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
I realized in that moment that I can never look at that person the same, and I asked myself a question. Is this person the best from my past or the best for my future? The
Good
unfortunate...
question. Say that question again, though. That's a good question. Is this
person the best from my past or the best for my future? Unfortunately, many of the people in our lives are in our lives because we used to with them. We used to do this, we used to party, we went to high school, we went to college, whatever. That does not mean they are guaranteed a spot in your future unless they bring something to the table, as cold and calculated as that might sound.
I don't think it sounds cold. I think it sounds smart.
I appreciate it. But I also do understand that I have a very weird relationship with relationships. Look, I didn't think I was going to be successful. I couldn't try to drag anybody up the mountain with me. I wasn't convinced I was going to make it on my own. So I think one of the understandings that's very important is all relationships are based on three things: core values, core beliefs, core aspirations. That is the relationship you and I have right now in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
Core beliefs, personal development is important. Core values, vulnerability and honesty. Core aspirations, to bring value to the audience. That's why this works.
So you're a man.
I am.
Speaking of vulnerability, which is not a normal vocabulary coming out of a lot of males, how did you get there?
I don't know. I don't know if I have a really good answer. For me, I think in the beginning, it probably started from a place of ego and the significance I got by having the courage to say things that other people wouldn't. I think I was rewarded for that, and it felt really good. And I was like, when I am vulnerable, I get significance. And it just became kind of a habit loop.
But give us a for instance.
Man.
Yeah. Like, what did you say that would be scary? And then, but the response you got is like, oh, yeah, maybe I can say these things.
I would talk about all the time how I had like situationships where I would have friends with benefits and I was getting a need met and they were getting a need met. But after we stopped sleeping together, I would like coach them. And that was like my first dipping my toe. It was weird. And it literally got to the point, Angel, where there was a woman that was a friends with benefits who would reach out to me for relationship advice with her boyfriend.
Yeah. I mean, I can see that.
it was vulnerable for me to share because our audience was predominantly women. And I was like, are they going to think what are they going to think about me? Are they going to think so many people reached out and talked about how they were on the receiving end negatively of being in a friends with benefits situation and people were breaking their hearts and all this stuff. And that opened us up to understanding our audience at a deeper level. I talked about how I had a porn addiction.
Wow.
And
you are vulnerable.
Well, I know look, I don't know if I've ever met another man who doesn't look at porn. I'm willing to bet the vast majority of them don't want to. It just becomes a habit. If I can stand up and say, look, it's not really good, and you probably know it's not good, and you're probably dealing with some dysfunction based on it. Been there. I feel you. None of your friends are going to tell you this, but it's probably best that you stop.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with being that guy because I'm convinced that it's going to be more helpful to certain people than it's going to be hurtful to me.
Yes, absolutely.
So I think it'll be worth it. I think that's the simplest answer is I have a deep belief that if I say something that affects somebody in a positive way, is anyone going to reach out and make fun of me because I was addicted to porn? I don't know. Maybe. If so, whatever. You do your thing. But I think that there will be a bunch of people who don't reach out that say, interesting. That means something.
Well, and you got to know that you are a human first.
Yes.
And
yes.
that there are people that are going to feel and see similarly as you do. And that it's not free. There's nothing that hadn't been done before. That's the thing to kind of like lay your hat on. Okay. So I'm not a complete foreigner from another planet because I do this. And then have the courage to say, hey, I do this. And I bet there's other out there that do it too. And I will say this, I raised 2 boys, and I was taught or told at a very young motherhood that Playboy magazine, which was, probably my generation's guy porn. We didn't have things online, but that it can ruin their aspirations of the women that are supposed to be in their life. So it's very unreal. They have unreal expectations and therefore hard. It's very hard on relationships with real women. And I'm not talking just body types, but that too. But also, the other things that come with being a woman in a relationship. And I do have to say it's a cool word. Situationships. Is that what you call them?
Situationship, yeah.
All right. Okay. You are fascinating. And I know that any of the women listeners out there go, "Hi, yeah, I'd like to hear his side of those things." Tell me about the work that you're doing now. Who are you coaching? And yeah, tell us about that kind of work.
Yeah, it's interesting because now I've gotten to the point where people just started asking me for podcasting help, coaching help, and speaking help.
Mm-hmm.
So I predominantly work with content creators who want to monetize their message. That's pretty much the majority of what I do. But as we built the business, we were able to help business owners. We were able to help people who are just dipping their toe into personal development. We were able to help people that wanted to level up in life, love, health, and wealth. And that became kind of who we serve. But what I will say is we work really well with humble, authentic humans. If you're humble, we work really well with you. If you're arrogant or entitled in any way, shape, or form, I'm not interested. I don't want your money. It's not going to work. That's just, we earn it every single day. And I love working with people who want to earn it and they're heart driven. We work really well with heart driven people. Yeah.
That's great to know and then discerning, like who is heart driven. Some people might tell you they're heart driven, but I bet even on Zoom, you could probably tell they're not. Is that true?
There's questions.
Yeah. But a feeling though. Like almost a physical feeling, the somatics, because I'm a somatic person. I see everything through the messages of the body.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Okay. So your podcast, what is your podcast about? Because it sounds like something to be interesting for all different kinds of listeners, but tell me specifically what you're addressing on it.
So it is personal development every single day from anywhere in the world, completely free. So it is level up your life. So we talk about physical fitness, we talk about mental health, we talk about all that stuff. We talk about wealth, how to make more money, how to save more money, like what are the money fundamentals, where are your money blocks, all of that stuff. We talk about love, relationships with intimate partners, family, your relationship with yourself. So for us, it is personal development that leads to success, as opposed to how to make the most money you've ever made in a misaligned way. Or no, I don't want that. I want to be the best I can be physically, mentally, emotionally. I want to be the best husband I can be. I want to be in really good shape and healthy and have a long, prosperous life. So yeah, we aspire to do all of those things, which is terrible for branding and it's terrible for niching down because there's so many things that we do, but that's what we aspire to.
Is it bad for, I'm like, is it bad for branding?
It is, yeah.
Well, I don't know. About a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, my friends that are all in the, you would have to say maybe the woo-woo world, but they're all scaling their businesses. We all got the same message, not publicly, but intimately, is where the growth is going to be found. And that is a heart-driven business. And you get your bean counters. I don't know. You get your accountants that would be like, yeah, that's all great, but that's not going to go, it's not going to cash in the bank. So what do you say to people like that are, let's say, naysayers of the heart-driven approach in business?
When you have the opportunity to meet someone and they are better behind the scenes than you thought they were going to be, you will never want to work with somebody else. That is being heart-driven, from my perspective. Being heart-driven is just being a good person and wanting what's best. I had a client today who messaged me and said, hey, man, I'm embarrassed to say this. I'm having some money issues. I don't really know what to do. What do you think I should do? And I said, I think you should probably pause working with us and you should get your stuff in order and then reach back out when you're ready, or let me know if I can find a way to make this a win-win and find a more affordable thing for you. Totally up to you. I only want what's best for you. To me, I care about the person. Am I going to lose money? Yeah, maybe, but that's not just about that. That can't be the first thing. That can't be the most important thing.
No.
We work with people, and people are sick of working with people who don't care about them. So as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, if you have a heart-centered, heart-led business, I would bet on you 9 times out of 10 because you're willing to do it for longer. You're doing it for the right reasons. And that's how you build a real community, through heart, not tricking people into buying stuff.
Where the, what's the word I'm looking for? The seed money is really your passion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And and it will get you through, the passion will get you through the lean moments. Okay. So in your interview before, it's like, I love talking about consistency, commitment, habits, mindset, confidence. I got the fear in relationships, but tell me about consistency, commitment, and habits, and then mindset, I'm sure, wraps around all that.
I think one of the reasons people aren't they're not as far along in the journey as they want is because they're just not consistent enough. And when I say consistent, it's not just checking the box. Consistency is showing up with a consistent attitude, showing up with a consistent energy, showing up with consistent expectations. The example I always use for this is if you and I sat down, Angel, and I said, look, I will give you $1 million if you can do the splits by this time next year. Right? I'll give you $1 million.
I'll take you on.
Okay. What is the most probable path to success? You're going to practice the splits every day. But if you say, you know what, maybe 5 days a week, 4 days a week, 3 days a week, the probability of you succeeding just gets lower and lower and lower and lower and lower. I look at almost everything the same way. The reason we are, quote unquote, where we are is because we've done 2,000 podcast episodes. If we stopped at 200, we wouldn't be where we are. That is the piece of consistency. Now, I think we're at a place now in the world and in life where consistency is not a strategy, it is a requirement. What you can focus on, though, is when you're doing something consistently, you have to focus on improving it. Yeah. So we have a little 4-step thing. It's called prep, rep, reflect, perfect.
Okay.
Prep. Before I joined you today, I looked you up, and we had already talked, but I looked up, okay, what are the most recent episodes like? All right, cool, boom, 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 prep. Rep. Here we are. I'm going to give it everything I got. I'm going to leave it all in the court. Cool. when we get done and when this episode goes live, I will do my best to review it, reflect. What did I do well? I said it was going to be a 7-minute story. It was only 3 minutes. That could have been better. Cool. And then perfect. I will take the lessons, the wins and the losses, and I will do my best to take those and make them better next time.
Okay.
Consistency is not just showing up. It's showing up and improving. So that's a piece of it. That ties into commitment. What's the difference between a situationship and a committed marriage? You're probably more all in on the committed marriage, and you're willing to look in the challenging mirrors you don't want to look in. You're willing to take ownership for the things that you know you should.
Mm-hmm.
You show up and you just continue trying to improve. Commitment is not a suggestion. It is a promise. And those are two very, very different lives. So the things that I try to commit to, I try to give 110% to. The things that I don't commit to, I essentially try to give 0% to.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'm privileged in the ability to kind of do that. What was the other one? Consistency, commitment?
I think we wrapped it with, habits and mindset. Habits is really the commitment and the consistency.
Yeah.
And then the mindset.
The mindset piece, I feel like a lot of us get stuck in this. You kind of talked about it earlier. I'm doing the things, but nothing is changing yet.
Ugh, yeah.
Having a really growth mindset is the understanding that, number one, it's not going to change immediately because we didn't get to where we are in 5 days. We got here over the course of our life. So it's going to take some time to slow the boat down and turn it around. It just is the way it works. And the understanding that you are unbelievably malleable as a human being, and almost everything you know, almost everything you do, and almost everything as you are a human, you can kind of change. That has been the most valuable thing for me as somebody who assumed the way I am today is the way I will be forever. That growth mindset is something that is just unbelievably powerful. And then I think last piece I would add is within mindset is the understanding that many of us unfortunately have a very short time perspective. We want to see results immediately, and if we don't, we assume it's not going to work. From day to day, and this is something that has helped me a ton. From day to day, progress is essentially invisible. From year to year, progress is impossible to miss. That has helped me so much. I did 3 episodes yesterday, Angel. I'll do 4 episodes today. I'm no better today. Measurably.
Mm-hmm.
If I go back and look at an episode from 5 years ago, it is painful for me to watch. It is physically painful, but I didn't feel like I was getting any better, really, episode to episode. So it's important to have perspective. It's important to have lines to go through, like measure lines. Oh, okay, this was a line of demarcation. This was a line of demarcation. But if you don't do something for long enough, you'll actually never really see the progress, unfortunately. So it all ties together.
Wow. Wow. So you're speaking to somebody who was born without patience. So when you talk about seeing progression, because I do, it's like I have this great idea and I throw it up on the board and oh my God, it's starting to work out. And then all of a sudden a day comes, just a day, and it's like everything falls, through the cracks. One day. And I see that my own motivation goes, well, maybe it really wants us to work out. One day. I mean, I'm telling you this, like confessing, it's like I can actually get speed bumps with one day. It's like weight loss. You're doing great. And then, I don't know, something happens. I don't know what, but you gain a pound or two. And it's like, it's just not going to work. It is the wildest thing. So what a great perspective.
You know what's hard about that, Angel? So I know a fair amount about fitness. I used to be a personal trainer. I've been doing this for a long time. You know why you gain a pound? Because that's how humans work. That's all. You most likely didn't do anything wrong. You probably had a salty meal and a little bit of extra water, and it's not even real.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's a really good example because that is again, it's about the trend line. From day to day, it's going to fluctuate. But if you look at where you are today versus where you were 6 months ago, that's where we got to zoom out. We got to zoom out as hard as it is.
That's taken age for me, Kevin.
Yes.
I have learned that, you know what? Today wasn't a great day, but there's tomorrow. And if I add up all the days, it's fantastic.
Yes.
But it is just stick with it. This has not been something, again, I was born with. I had to teach myself this, and it's been hard to take a breath, step back, and see the bigger picture. Like you're saying, it's the perspective. I also want to say that the most exciting thing about the work I do is neuroplasticity, which is what you're talking about, the ability to change our thoughts, the ability to change our habits, the ability to change our belief that we have no self-worth, no self-esteem, we'll never make anything, because that's all we were taught, as children in some households. But you can change those habitual neurons that have been together for so long. You can break the pattern. And then it takes, I think in my world, it takes about 3 weeks. So you have to have 21 days sticking with whatever you're changing, the habit, that you first start to really see the results of that. I don't know in your world if that's the same kind of thing, but you can't see the results in 5 days, like you said.
Yeah.
But to give it 21, like don't wait until 21 days or don't measure the thing. Give it 21 days and then continue to keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's, when I start dieting, I gain weight in the first week every time.
Right. Because it's stress. Your body's like,
That's
hell no, I'm
probably
going to eat.
right. Probably. But that's the thing, is eventually, if you're doing something for the first time, it almost, as weird as it sounds, the result almost doesn't matter. It's all about you adopting the process. The result, it doesn't matter. Eventually you get to the place where whatever it is, like you have expectations. I know when I start dieting, I'm going to jump on the scale, and for some reason the number's going in the wrong direction. Kev, it's fine. Just do it for a couple weeks. It'll start to, and then from there, as your awareness increases, your control increases, and then you understand it at a much different rate. I don't know. I would say for us, it depends on the goal, obviously, right? Like certain goals take longer to really start to see progress internally or externally. But I would say, if you give it 3 weeks, you're off to a really good start for sure.
I think it's the first of the mind that really starts to show results. Kevin, you've got so much. I mean, I feel like it's like, oh, wow, I got to ask him this next question. Tell me what I haven't asked. Give me an answer to something. It's like, you shouldn't ask about this. Tell me what I haven't asked. You've got so much to give us. So give me the surprise question. Give me the surprise question, or tell us something we don't know about you.
When I was 27, I was sitting on my couch and I got a message on Facebook. I was going through my message requests in Facebook, and I saw a message and it said, "Hey, Kevin, I'm blank. I'm your father's girlfriend."
Okay.
Didn't know my dad.
Oh.
Didn't know my dad. And the message was from 3 years prior. So I never saw the message. It took me 3 years to see the message.
My goodness.
So I threw my phone on the floor, as one does, and said, nope, Saturday, we're not doing this today. We are not doing this today. But I got curious. So I opened up the phone. Hey, Kevin, I'm blank. I'm your father's girlfriend. He has seen you on social media. It seems like you're doing really well. And if you would ever like the opportunity to meet, he would love to do that.
And you're 27. Okay.
27. And I remember I threw my phone on the floor. I fell on the floor, started bawling my eyes out, because in my mind, I didn't know if my dad was alive, number one. Number two, I never thought I was going to hear from him. And number three, there was a little piece of me that when I got the message, I knew I had to go see him. Right? So I messaged one of my friends. I said, hey, my dad messaged me. They knew about my story. Wants to meet up. And they said, are you going to do it? And I said, I think I have to. Yeah, I think I have to. And they said, do you want me to come? And I said, no, I think this is one of those things I have to do by myself, unfortunately. So we agreed. We met up at the halfway point between where we lived. And I got there early. I sat down in this booth at this diner, just anxious as one could be. And I had a very humbling moment where I remember thinking to myself, I don't know what he looks like. So when he shows up, he's going to have to come find me, and this is going to be even more awkward than I thought it was going to be. I see a guy walk by the window, and it was like, that's him. Don't know how I knew. It was just a feeling of familiarity is the best way to explain it. He comes in, he sits down. It's about as awkward as you can imagine if you've never experienced it. And I was just stoic. You're not going to get a single thread of emotion from me. He was crying. He was apologizing. And we were there for probably about an hour. And I left with 3 things that day. one, I left with empathy. His life did not turn out great. He had done less work in his 60 years of life than I had done in my 27. I was way more evolved than he was. I was like the father in this relationship. So I had empathy for him. Number two, I had forgiveness. I don't think he woke up one day and decided, you know what? I'm going to try to screw this kid's life up. I don't think that's what he did. And then the third thing I got was, I feel like I got so much self-worth by doing something that scared the pants off of me.
Yeah.
So I left. We had a relationship for a short time after. I saw him a few times after that. And then I think eventually I got to the place where I was like, this is never going to be what he wants it to be. I'm not really that invested. I don't need this. It was good closure for me. I don't need this to sustain. So I sort of just let the relationship die. But that was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my entire life, for sure. But it also facilitated maybe the most growth in terms of like a return on time investment that I've ever had. So there's something to that. That was one of those deep, deep, deep inner wounds that I had to work through.
Yeah.
How much of my growth today came from that, I don't know, but I'm willing to bet a lot of it.
I think you've had a lot of different things given to your growth.
Yeah.
So, Kevin, what's next for you? What's on your horizon?
This is always a challenging question for me because I'm going to give you the most unsexy, boring answer. The same exact thing we're doing today, but just a little bit better. I mean, we are playing the really, really, really long game. As pie in the sky as this sounds, our goal is to have the most successful personal development company on the planet. So I'm going to get a little bit better every day, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, intimately. And then I'm going to do my best to pass that on through the message to our audience and amazing opportunities like this. It's that. Just get a little bit better today than I was yesterday. Rinse and repeat that. And hopefully the compound effect takes over. And yeah, we end up where we want to end up in terms of impact and everything else.
You really are like the face for consistency, for sure. How do we find you, Kevin?
The podcast is called Next Level University. It's on all the platforms. It's on YouTube. We do an episode every day. And then my handle is @NeverQuitKid. If you're on Instagram, if you have questions or anything, you can email me. It's kevin@nextleveluniverse.com. I do my own email. So if I can do anything, if I can add value, let me know. I'm always happy to answer.
Give that @NeverQuitKid again. What is that?
That is my handle on Instagram, @NeverQuitKid.
That's great. Okay, Kevin, thank you so much.
It was my pleasure.
So full and very, very inspiring. I know to me, I'm sure to my listeners, but it's got me thinking. So thank you.
I appreciate you having me, friend. You're the best. And I very much appreciate our time together.
All right. Thanks to Kevin for joining our show today. And thanks to you for listening. I am your host, Angel Howard, and I would love to get to know you better. Send me an email at angel@angelhoward.co, that's .co, or book me for a speaking engagement. I bring a lot of joy and fun into many corporate gigs, and we learn about embodied leadership. Come on over to my website, angelhoward.co. I've got 2 retreats coming up, y'all. Or dive deeper into your own journey of self-discovery and get my book, Issues in Your Tissues, on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Thanks for joining us today, and until next time.